how many times will I say intrigued to read this book? I don't know, but I am intrigued to read all of them. Hi fam, and welcome to a new video. Today we are doing a book haul from my favorite indie bookstore, which is Kitab Khana in Bombay, which is the city that I live in. Kitab Khana is about 10 years old right now, but it is one of my absolute favorite bookstores. It is just so gorgeous and beautiful. It is in Fort, which is in town in Bombay. I love going to that part of town, and they just are just lovely people with lovely books. But during the lockdown, they obviously were going through a lot, but in December, they ended up going through much worse when part of their bookstore caught fire, and they had to shut down and like basically do up the entire place again. But they opened up in, I think, like the second or third week of March, and yeah, it was great. I decided to go to the bookstore because I just wanted to like pay my respects and say hi to everyone and stuff like that, and I was allowed to, so yay. And B, because they had a sale. So a lot of the books that were salvaged from the fire, they are selling at like a 50% discount. So yeah, I went and maybe bought 17 books, but anyway, so yeah, so I went there. I was completely safe. I wore a mask. It was all good. And I thought that I would take you shopping with me. So here are a few clips from my time at the bookstore. Have fun. Isn't the place just gorgeous? Oh my god, it's so big and lovely and full of books and lovely people. I absolutely love going there. And now I'm going to talk to you about the 17 books that I bought from there, all at 50% off. So yay. But yeah, let's just go through it. I do have to tell you that a lot of these books I may or may not be like describing in like the best sort of way, because like I don't like to get to know too much about a book before I read it, because I don't want to I just like to go into books pseudo blind. Okay, so yeah, but the first book I have read, so I can tell you a little bit about it. I have actually vlogged this book, I mean, and spoken about it in my thriller vlog, thriller female vlog, whatever. You can check that out if you want. I will link that up and down for you. But Watching You by Lisa Joel. This is a book about multiple characters. We find out that one of them has died. We find out that some of them are getting stalked, and some of them have unhealthy obsessions with other people. And that's basically what this book is about. You are trying to find out who has gotten murdered, and who has done the murdering, and why, and then you kind of see it reaching to that, like, you're gonna get a backstory to all of that leading up to the murders, I guess, and the solving of them. You know what I mean. I liked this one actually. So number two is also a thriller, but a translated one, and this is The End Game by Kunal Basu. This is a short novella that I wanted to buy, and it is about this, from what I can make out, it is about this journalist who goes to the US, and she finds this girl called Shabnam who's been trafficked and is being sold into slavery into this Marine camp, and she writes about something which she wasn't supposed to write about, and there's like a lot of attention that comes onto it. So then they basically run away, and a lot of shit happens. I don't know, but I just want to read it and find out more about it. I have read a previous book by Kunal Basu, and I've liked his writing, so I'm intrigued to see what this one holds for me. The third book is You People by Nikita Lalwani, and what a beautiful book and cover this is. This is a book that I'd been eyeing for a really long period of time, and this is about an Italian restaurant in London which is run by Sri Lankans and illegal immigrants, and it's about their story. And I have heard really good things about it, and I just am intrigued to see what this book then holds for me. And talking about food, sort of, is The Sweetest Fruits by Monique Truong, and this is an author that I really want to read, because I really want to read this book, which is the Book of Salt, which is a book that Adri from Perpetual Pages recommends all the time, and I cannot find it, so I thought that, hey, might as well just read another book by the author. But this is about a fictionalized sort of a reimagining of the life of Greek-Irish writer Luciano Horn's migratory life through the voices of the women who knew him best and who can testify to their own remarkable journeys. So yeah, apparently this guy is a really famous writer who apparently writes a lot about Japan and a bunch of other places. I have no idea who this guy is, but as I said, I basically bought this one for the author. So the next book that I have bought is also kind of I bought because I like the author and want to read more of the author, and that is Angela Carter, Heroes and Villains. And also I maybe bought this because I want to increase my modern classics, like Penguin Modern Classics library. But anyway, so this one is about it's like a post-apocalyptic world, like a dystopian world where there are these savages who live on the outside, and inside you live in like this colony or something like that. And I feel like maybe she goes and goes on the outside. I don't really know too much about what happens, but it says it is playful, sensuous, violent, and gripping. Heroes and Villains is an ambiguous and deliriously rich blend of post-apocalyptic fiction, gothic fantasy, literary allusion, and twisted romance. So all of that just sounded really good, and I want to give Angela Carter a try. The next book is also sort of an effort to increase my Penguin Modern Classic library, and that is this book, which is Other Voices, Other Rooms by Truman Capote, and this is his debut novel. And I've always been very fascinated by Truman Capote, so this is one of the reasons why I bought this one. This is about this boy who's a 13-year-old boy who is summoned to live with his father, who he's never met. And there, when he arrives, his father isn't there, but his stepmother is there. And it's basically about him living like spirits in the fragile decadence of a house full of secrets. So yeah, that's basically what it is about. And it also says something about vividly conjuring up gothic landscape of the deep south and a boy's first glimpse into the mysterious adult world. So this sort of reminds me of like a part of a goldfinch. If you've read the book, I don't know, it reminded me of that. So yeah, let's see. And the next book is a book that I have been eyeing for a while now, and I'm so glad that I got to buy it at 50% off. But it is this one, which is Untold Night and Day by Bae Sua, I would like to say. And this is a Korean book, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And it is about this girl who is like, it was her last day at the only audio theater for the blind, which is where she worked. And she and her former boss try to go and find this one mutual friend of theirs who's missing. And I think there's more to it, but I don't really want to know. I've just heard good things. It's a short book. I don't want to read more about it and get spoiled, so that's all for now. But I've heard good things about this one. So, and then another translated book from Germany this time. This one I just kind of took a chance. I read the first few pages of it and I liked it, and it's a collection of short stories by this guy called Michael Kruger. And it just seemed interesting. So, and my friend Mansi, who was there, who also works at Kitab Khana, was like, oh, this is good, you should definitely buy it. And I was like, you know what, fuck it. It was one of those buys. And then, of course, Kitab Khana is known for its love for translation, especially Indian translated books. So I bought this one, which is Half Open Windows by Ganesh Matkari, which is a book translated from Marathi by Jerry Pinto, who I absolutely love. So yeah, this is a bunch of short stories talking about people in Bombay, but people in Bombay of the upper middle class. Usually a lot of the short story sort of fiction which talks about people in Bombay, we get to hear about people from the lower middle class, or like, I don't know, people who are not really spoken about. So I'm interested to read a book about people from the upper middle class and what they have to say. So yeah, this one. And then I bought a collection of poems, which I usually would not have bought if not for the author again, and that is Ravish Kumar's A City Happens in Love, which is translated from Hindi, I think, of which is called Ishq Mein Sheher Hona. And this is translated by Akhil Katyal, who is another person who I admire, and both of these people, like the translator and the author, are two people who I admire, so I had to buy it, plus 50% discount. So, like, you know, but this is like, yeah, a collection of short stories about love in the city. And that's all I know about it, but I know that my friend Manya has read the Hindi version of this and has really liked it, so I'm going to read the English version of this. Maybe I should also buy like the Hindi version of it and read like side by side. I should do that. The next book, honestly, again, I bought for the author, and also because the contents is something that is so out of what I would normally read, and it just sounded like, okay, you know what, just do it. And that is Ismat Chughai's One Drop of Blood, the story of Karbala, which is the story of the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, and his early days spent in Rasulullah's company up to the epic battle of Karbala. And I have no idea about this time or this battle, but when I read a book that should not be named, as in like, which is by Salman Rushdie. I got to know a lot about like Islam and like the prophets and like all of that sort of stuff. So I feel like this might give me more information as well. So I'm intrigued to see what it informs me about. The next is non-fiction. I think we're now like in the non-fiction side, but we are getting this tiny book called Agni Pariksha by Hamid Qureshi, which is translated from Gujarati, and this is non-fiction about his time looking back at the 1969 riots that happened in Ahmedabad. And if I have to be completely honest, I did have to Google 1969 riots in Ahmedabad because I didn't know that there were. But yeah, they turned out to be like these riots, that religious riots that kind of took place. And Hamid Qureshi is a person who grew up in proximity to the Gandhi family, and he is Muslim but got married to a Hindu, and he talks about being reduced to being only a Muslim and how he struggles to comprehend the hatred and rage directed at his community. And it's really tiny. I feel like it's like a few, like I think like 70 pages, but I was really intrigued by it because one, I want to know what happened during these riots, and I wanted to know more about his story. So, and then we go into a complete 180 with this book, which is I Could Not Be Hindu, by the story of a Dalit in the RSS by Banwar Meghvanshi, which is translated from Hindi to English by Nivedita Menon, again another author who I really like. So yeah, anyway, this one is about this man who is Dalit but was part of the RSS. RSS is sort of like very right-wing group in India, which talks about like the Hindu Rashtriya and a bunch of stuff, which is very like Nazi oriented. But yeah, he talks about how he had this hatred for Muslims, etc. But even though he was part of the RSS, he still wasn't fully part of them because he was a Dalit, which is the last in the caste, or the lowermost caste in the caste system of being a Hindu. So yeah, so he talks about that and his journey, I guess. So I'm just excited to read it. Also, it is published by Navayana, which is a publisher that I absolutely admire. I read their version of Annihilation of Caste. It was edited by them, and like I absolutely like, oh my god, so good. So yeah, I would buy anything by them, to be honest. The next non-fiction that we have is also Indian, and this is The Colors of the Cage, a prison memoir by Arun Ferreira, and this is a book that funnily I borrowed from Jyotsna, from Jyotsna's Bookscapades, and then I didn't end up reading it, and I bought the book, so I gave it back to her. Anyway, but she spoke very highly about this, and I just really was intrigued by the concept as well. This is a memoir of Arun Ferreira, who was wrongfully imprisoned in India, and he talks about him going through the justice system as well as just him being in prison and what that was like. And yeah, I just really want to know more about this, and I'm very intrigued to read this book. How many times will I say intrigued to read this book? I don't know, but I am intrigued to read all of them. The last Indian non-fiction that I have is Rebel Sultans, which is also another book that Jyotsna loves, but this one I just generally heard a lot about. Manu S. Pillai is a really great writer, and in this one he talks about the Deccan from Khilji to Shivaji, and I wanted to get this one because it has like these cool like paintings and stuff as well in it, and yeah, I've heard that this book kind of reads a little bit like a textbook, but like the textbook that we deserve. So yeah, this one. The next one was sort of an impulse buy, but like I kind of want to read it, okay, ever since like it came out. But anyway, this one is Be Water, My Friend by Shannon Lee, which is the true teachings of Bruce Lee. So Shannon Lee is the daughter of Bruce Lee, and she writes about the true teachings of Bruce Lee, who was, as I'm assuming everyone knows, like a really famous martial arts guy and an actor and all-around cool dude. So I was just generally intrigued by this book when it came out, and now I want it. Okay, so I have it. This is the only book that has like the most amount of scarring, but apart from that, it's just, I mean, it's great. And the last book that we have is probably the most important one, which is Why We Sleep, which is just so much needed in my life because this talks about sleeping and why it's needed and what happens when you sleep, and just a bunch about sleeping, okay? Which, like, sometimes I sleep a lot and sometimes I don't sleep at all. It's just... yeah, so I want to know more about this, which is why I am very glad that I got this at 50% off. So there you have it. These are the 17 books that I bought from Kitab Khana. If there are any books from here that you think I need to read ASAP, then please let me know down in the comments. If there is a book that you think I need to read ASAP because you want me to review it, let me know down in the comments. Yeah, if you reached till here, why don't you go ahead and then also leave me like a book stack emoji just for the funsies. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was fun, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.